Hello and welcome to a new Plugin Guru video. My name is John. Skippy Lim Cool. Hey, it's Halloween. Boo. So I want to show you something cool. A new synthesizer has been introduced the day after Halloween. This is a treat for everybody else in the world that doesn't want candy. It is the CA2600 from Candy Audio. That's right. They have modeled the ARP 2600 as a reasonably priced plugin. Sounds great. I'll show you some patches. We'll talk about the layout a little bit. Tell you we've already been given this ahead of time and have unified it. So all 225 patches or so, plus some bonus patches. I'm going to show you how you can take, let's say, a mallet. There's these perk patches like marimba. This is mono. It's a mono synth because the 2600 is monophonic. Well, in Unify, we have the tools to make any mono synth polyphonic. So at the bottom of the list, you will find marimba. And this loads up 8 layers of the 2600 and uses our PolyBox. So now, I'll show you how to do this. All you need is to own Unify and use it. The other cool advantage to using Unify is that you can layer like crazy. So you could say, start with one brass patch. Let's make a big brass patch. Right click, say add this as a new Unify plugin inside of Unify. Let's get a big band brass and add that. And let's pan these two a little bit left and right so it's got some cool vibe. Let's go to bass and add Headhunter to this and take this down an octave by just going like this. You can do some cool things with Unify. You can layer any of your plugins that you own. So if you want 3 layers of Serum for a killer bass sound, all that stuff's available. We can do some cool things in Unify with the 2600 plugins. So, information. You would go to cherryaudio.com if you want to pick up the CA2600. It's not out yet. So the website doesn't say that. They're not releasing it until tomorrow. So I'm making this video the day before. And if you want more information on Unify, you can go to the Plugin Guru page. I have a little thing at the top of the page that says what the current version of Unify is. Unify is always $79. That's its sale price. It should sell for much more than that for what we're doing with it. We're about to release a new update later this week. The latest live stream we did earlier today, we showed all the cool new features. So it's pretty cool. All right, so the layout of CA2600 is like this. Let's open up the plugin. Get it to be right here. I might take off these glasses. My eyes are starting to hurt. That's better. And put on my regular round glasses. Just about look the same, except it's my real eyes. So that's pretty funny. It's laid out just like the 2600 in a nice interface. If you compare this to the Arturia, you have to scroll. You do get a sequencer in the Arturia version. You get a few things. They're different, of course, but the price is a huge difference. So on top of that, this has reverb as well as distortion and delay. Delay can be tempo synced. The reverb has both a spring, which is mono, and a plate that is stereo. So they're really nice. Here's the mono plate, for example, versus the stereo plate. You hear big difference in the imaging versus they don't have chorus. Arturia has chorus. Instead, you have distortion, delay, and reverb. And the distortion is really cool. It's 3 oscillators. It has a cool interface where, let's go to a more complex patch. The BPM rhythmic stuff here, like modular. This calls up a rhythm groove. As you can see, we have cables. So you can connect cables to override the orange markers. Those are the standard, this is called semi-modular because it's already pre-wired but you can override it. And if you want, you click on something. Because I clicked on a control circuit, then it shows me the silver is where it's available. I can go like this. Now that's in there. And if I hover over this, you'll notice and click, I get this cool layout where I can have up to 6 different modulation sources coming into here. So I could have this also coming in, not to here, but see if I want another control, that might be this. So I could go to here. So now I have 3 things. And if I want, you can choose colors. So I want the next one to be yellow. So that means this is now yellow. So I can change the color of the circuits for the cables. They have settings in here. So you can choose how the cables look, whether they're 3D. For the interface, they actually have 3 different colors. They have gray. So you have the gray skin. And if you go over here and go to blue, now you have the blue version. So they have 3 skins for the plugin. Kind of fun. There's other preferences here for how the knobs work, etc. All that kind of fun stuff. So let's get this back to be the orange and black. Okay. So the cables, they allow you to repatch, just like you would expect with the 2600. That's one of the cool things. So Cherry Audio, just so you guys know, they have a really cool modular synth system that they created that's very powerful. And then this is the second synth they've released in about a month. The first one was the Juno 106 model, which we've also unified, and it's available in Unify format so that it's very vintagey sounding. It's not the in-your-face hyped version. It's to sound more like the original retro. Right? You know, it's got a cool vibe to it for sure. So those are the 2 synths so far. Beyond the modular, what do they call it? Yeah, so their modular is called Voltage Modular. So they created Voltage Modular, then they released the DCO 106, and now they have gone to the CA2600. Here's the basic saw. Let's do a little Synth 101. So there's 3 oscillators, as you can see, which you have frequency controls. Over here is your mixer section, and by default, it has and then if you want a different waveform than the ones that are selected for VCO1, it's a square wave. If you want the sawtooth, then you just go over here, grab it, and plug it into that circuit. Go, no, I want it to be the triangle, so just go over here. Or a sine wave. You have an envelope. And this is more accurate to the original 2600 than, say, for example, Arturia. Arturia, if you put the envelopes at the max, they're really slow. These, I actually talked to Doug at Cherry Audio and said, I wish that the decay was longer. And he said, yeah, but the original 2600, that's one of the famous things about it, is the decay is short. It doesn't do super long decays. So they're keeping it true to the actual 2600 in that regards. It's like, okay. If you want to have an ADSR controlling the filter, bring down the filter cutoff. It can get very snappy. Super snappy. Has low pass, high pass, 12 and 24 dB filters, which is very nice. The resonance is great. Like, that's the longest decay, which I wish it was longer. And then the attack. It's very nice. Right? So there's other circuitry over here for controlling. There's two envelopes. There's below this, there's an AR, just an attack release envelope, which is great for percussion sounds and stuff like that. Here's your final mixer section, pan, volume. You have control right here, for example, of glide for each oscillator. Right? There's a cool sample and hold circuit right here. Take this out. Now, if you want, I'm not going to use keyboard for tracking. I'm going to instead plug in sample and hold. And now, and if I wanted to be synced, I just click the little sync button. And now my rate, here's my total level. Let's say eighth notes. If we go over here and add delay and bring up the delay circuit volume, then hit sync and set this to be set to like quarter notes. Bring up the reverb, turn it on. There's a little button to turn it on. You won't hear if you don't turn it on. Bring up the K all the way. And you can do fun things like have the LFO output go into the delay time of the delay. So it's just modulating the delay. Let's go to the stereo reverb. It's pretty cool. So you have ring mod, you have envelope followers, all sorts of cool modular pieces, just like the 2600 has circuit-wise to play with. And it's pretty accurate. You can hear when we go through the patches. Here, let's start with some of the basses. They don't have a favorite system inside of here for the patches. You would go right here and click to see the patches. And you can choose them this way, but there's no favorites ability. So I have set up in Unify favorites for patches to go through. So here's ringer. Velocity bass, high pass filter. And velocity is found over here. So if we were to go right here to the velocity circuit, it's going into here. If you want to be more velocity sensitive, just bring this up. Okay, so we have stuff like that. Here we go. These take off on their own. Here's an ambient pulse. The brass are really cool. I showed you the layering of them earlier. Here they are just singles. Low brass, a little bit warmer. House chords. Right? There's all sorts of variations of that. Now we're gonna make this polyphonic in a few minutes. When I get through the patches, we'll come back and I'll show you how to make, because you wanna play chords with an organ patch. And here's just one note. So Italian is another keyboard. Here's one where the mod wheel is changing the delay time. So you can get a little bit dub of a vibe going if you want. Classic lead. Dr. 2600. Dribbler. Here's a cool sine wave kind of. You've heard that in lots of albums. But there's all the leads are really nice. pads. I think this is one that I made polyphonic. I think I called it Cinematic Ultra Mega, and I worked on it and beefed it up a little bit so that you can hear what you can do in Unify to take something farther. So this is the 2600, but it's 8-voice polyphonic now. And what's really cool with Unify is that each layer grabs one thread of your computer, so it's multi-core processor savvy. So even though this is playing 8 copies of this plugin, it's working pretty nicely on this computer. If it was just grabbing one chord, there's no way I could do that on a plugin basis. So it's really cool that it can do things like that. Let's see where we were at. We were evolutionary, dark pillow. They have a couple different types of kicks. I made an 808 kick, which is right. So you can do that kind of stuff if you want. Metallic melody. Snare. Diving bell is kind of cool for special effects. Heard that in some film soundtracks, I'm sure. Waves. Drones. Terrible Planet's cool. Now this other drum I'm going to show you now, these are duo patches. So you can play one note and play another note. Isn't that cool? And then old duophonic is similar. You get those off harmonics. It's fun. And then we get to the polyphonic stuff. That was cool for chords and stuff. Here's a vintage lead. Pretty cool. The cinematic stuff I showed you earlier is fun. Great big warm cinematic things. Like that's the envelopes at their max for the decay. So I wish it was longer, but it's still really useful. Great. Here's a retro sign that's polyphonic. So it's one of the patches that I modified to get it to be polyphonic. Now let me show you how to make something polyphonic from this. So let's find that brass patch that we want to make polyphonic, and I'll take you through the steps. So we go brass. I want that to be polyphonic. I think that'd be really cool to play chords with. So you go to layers, you say add a MIDI effect, and you choose PolyBox 8 layers. And PolyBox is a MIDI effect we created that each note that comes in gets sent to the next MIDI channel. So if you have multiple layers, then you have multiple voices of polyphony. And the cool thing with this is each layer could be programmed differently to be slightly more broken if you want. I'm not going to do that right now. it can be up to 16 layers. So you could make this a 16 voice polyphonic synth if you want. We're just going to do 8. Starting MIDI channel is 1. And that's I just wanted to show you how that works. We also have, so we could set this in 1.2 to a really cool polyphonic retrigger mode so I can do wave sequencing kind of things. I was part of the programming team for the original Wave Station and Unify samples, and my programming is in Wave State, which came out from Korg early this year. And so it's really cool. We got finally to the software that I needed to have in Unify so I could do polyphonic wave sequencing. It's super cool. I'm not going to show that right now. You'll have to watch other videos, stuff like that. But here's what you do. All you do is you set this first layer to MIDI channel 1, and then you go to where it says in and route this to PolyBox. And by doing that, it's now listening to PolyBox. If I play a note, it gets that note. Now I set it to 8, which means the next 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, make no sound. 7, 8 comes around again. There it is. So I have it cycling 8 times. So I need to make 7 more layers that are on different MIDI channels sequentially, right? And it just so happens we made some automatic tools to do that. So if you say duplicate this 7 times, it will now have 8 layers. And as you'll see, each one is on its own MIDI channel and they're duplicated to the same patch. And it's polyphonic, just like that. Now, I also included with the download a really fun thing. We have macro knobs here. These allow you to go to any plugin and reroute it to any parameter. So if I go to instrument, there's 8 layers, and I could go to any 2600, and here's all the parameters of the 2600, right? Well, I've saved assignments, so you don't have to do these. So if we go over here and say load macro definitions, I can save something which will set up all 8 layers to now respond. So I can change the release. We have effects you can add. And a pump house. Right? So you can load that preset up if you want to have access to quickly and then I'm going to save that. So we'll go save Z brass, dual brass. That's fine. And that's fine. I'll add comments after the fact. Go save as and hit save, and it's there. So now it's added to everybody else. That organ, we wanted to make that polyphonic. So let's do this steps one more time so you can see how it works. So go to keys, drawbars 1. Let's make this polyphonic. Gotta play chords with that, right? So we first go up to layers. We say MIDI effects, add PolyBox. Now we just route this by going over here and saying connect to PolyBox, MIDI channel 1, and 7 extra layers, please. And just like that. Right? So you can make anything, whether it's CA2600 or other synthesizers. In fact, there's a Unify library that we've done for the Retro 1 and 5 from UHI. Retro 1 is monophonic, but there's polyphonic patches in there. It's really, really nice. So I'm going to save, add a Z, go save as because it's a new patch, and say save. Boom, there it is. So there you go, 2600 from Cherry Audio. Great synthesizer at a great price. The introductory price is just insane. But it's great value. It sounds very authentic. It has a great vibe to it. I think you will enjoy it if you need a retro synth and you don't want to spend $4,000 for a used one, or more than that probably. So anyway, enjoy. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.